I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, February the 14th. Don't forget about your Valentine. Hi to my Valentine, Gina Lynn. Brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. That's Dakota Moss and his crew there, guys. Of course, he's officing there at the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. They are your LRP specialists. They do it in every area. They've seen every scenario. Call them. You don't have a dumb question. Call them and ask them what it costs to do it, how it works, all the details, and they'll visit with you about it. To get more information on Livestock Risk Services, go to livestockriskservices.com. Calving season. We're getting to the middle of February, and a lot of producers are calving. I had an enjoyable day on Tuesday driving from central Nebraska up into central South Dakota, and all your ranchers had their cows up close to the house, getting them around there where they'd be handy to check them, and for sure they're heifers. But it's a muddy mess around there, and they're wasting a lot of hay trying to get it to where they can kind of maneuver around there. But it's an exciting time. Some producers dread it, some look forward to it, but everybody is calving, and we call it spring calving, but it's really winter calving. That it's quite a ways till spring, and the heck of it is everybody's wanting to calve earlier and earlier and earlier, and then they get caught in a blizzard or a snowstorm, and we don't have a lot of sympathy for them. Because they're just wanting those calves to be bigger and bigger and bigger next fall whenever they decide to sell them. And backed up here in this country, up here in the northern plains, there's not much backgrounding in those cattle anymore. When they get those calves weaned and take them to the sale, most of them have to go straight to the feedlot. And the feedlot really doesn't want cattle in that kind of a condition. They would rather have something that's green, that's been turned out for a long time. But that's just the nature of the beast, and the genetics have gotten so good up in this part of the country that that kind of thing is happening. But almost 75%, like 73 point something percent of the calves born, beef calves born in the United States, are born in the first half of the year. Which you think, well, that sounds pretty good till you think about it being only 25 or 6% of the calves, beef calves that are born the second half of the year. That benefits the packer, guys. And really, our cattle infrastructure cannot handle that. We don't have, of course we do now because our numbers are so tight, but under normal conditions, we don't have the bunk space, the hook space, or the trucks to haul off 3/4 of our calves at once. And ideally we would get more people to maybe stagger out their calving a little bit. I guess you don't have to fall calve if you don't want to, but you could sure stagger it out a little bit and kind of get off kilter with everybody. If everybody on your lane is turning the bulls out the same week, how much sense does that make, guys? We need to be a little bit more flexible, and I think it would help everybody. But like I said, your heifers and cows are up close to the house where these producers can check them easier. The temperature is beautiful. Temperature is perfect up here in the northern plains and parts of the Midwest here. I know they've got a big blizzard or snowstorm going on in the Northeast, but I tell you what, in the breadbasket of the country, it is beautiful, beautiful conditions. It's been really muddy. It's still pretty muddy. It's starting to shore up just a little bit, but it won't be long. Those new calves will be dropping all over the place, and guys will be excited about that. Some of them will check them horseback, not many anymore. A lot of people will check them on some type of an ATV, but maybe an old feed truck of some kind, and those are the best conditions when you can drive around out there and check them in that calving pasture. And the temperature is always just perfect with the heater on and the window down, and you've got your coveralls on there. But it's that time of year, and we wish everybody the best of luck on their calving this year. Talk about your board. Let's talk about February live cattle futures. Down 50 cents. Of course, they've been up big earlier in the week, but down 50 cents at 183.75. April down 82 at 185.10. Your back months were down 37 to down 97. It's just up and down, up and down, and up and down. But we're gaining more than we're losing. And with 183.75, that's still a premium to what your latest established market was on fat cattle. So how about feeder cattle? March feeder cattle down 82 cents at 248. April down 142 at 251.75. Your back months down 85 cents, down $1.40. March corn was up 1/4 cent a bushel at 430 3/4. March beans down 6 3/4. And Kansas City hard red winter wheat for March down 4 1/4 cent a bushel at 594 1/2. Talk about your fat cattle trade. We saw one trade, a direct basis out of your 5-area feeding region. It was in Iowa, 500 head, sold at 180. Now, cattle were selling pretty readily at 182 and even as high as 183 in that part of the country last week. Not sure why they would sell them at 180. And if that was my choice, I think I'd rather deliver those cattle on the board at 183.75. But there could be more deliveries. There's been a few deliveries, not very many. If the board stays way out in front of your cash market and your packers don't want to give more this week, the threat will get greater to deliver more of those cattle. We did have a fat cattle auction on Tuesday, Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. 1,500 head in overnight, 2,000 head total on your fat cattle auction there. Your conventional cattle sell from 174 to 182 1/4. That would be $4 to $5.50 higher than last week. Of course, it's catching up with your direct market there. Non-implanted or drug-free type program kind of cattle selling from 176 to 182. Gary Marks shares this information with me. Told me the quality was not quite as attractive this week as it has been the last few weeks. He said they are discounting significantly for extra tag on the cattle like we talked about on the previous visit on the feeder flash here, but it basically said good fat cattle that were clean would bring 180 plus, and dirty fat cattle carrying quite a bit of tag or even some would sell in the 170 somewhere. So that's your summarization there of Yankton. And now Yankton has recently added DVAuction broadcasting. So we're happy about that. We thank Greg Ryken for the business. My co-workers went up there and hooked them up over the weekend. And so you can watch their fat cattle sales every Tuesday. You can watch their feeder sales every Wednesday. Sometimes they have specials, maybe on a Friday. They sell cows on Monday. They sell a lot of cattle at Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. If you're interested in bidding, call them at the sale barn. Establish some credit with them, and they can hook you up, approve you to be bidding there on DVAuction.com. Talk about your box beef cutout values. They were lower on Tuesday afternoon. Choice cuts down 181 at 292.27. Selects down 172 at 285.30. Your slaughter is falling behind. 240,000 through the first 2 days of the week. 10,000 less than the same point last week. 9,000 less than the same point a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Farapeace, I talk about them all the time. It's a revolutionary product that's scientifically proven, guys. Help overcome stress with Farapeace. I talk all the time about folks using it on new cattle, bringing them in, unweaned, high risk type of cattle, or even just weaning your cattle there at home. But people are using it for all kinds of things. I've even talked to people that have been using it on their finished fat cattle right before they deliver them. Of course, you get 14 days of being able to notice the benefits of that. But they're running through those big fat cattle through, putting the Farapeace on them, and basically eliminating dark cutters. That if you catch 1 out of 100. It's way cheap. 1 out of 1,000 is still cheap, but Go to fairpiece.com for more information. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 244.83. That was basically steady, or 1 penny a hundred higher. And CME cash feeder cattle index keeps growing. It's jumped out there to a $2 advantage on your real-time index. I think that has a lot to do with some of these conditioned cattle that are selling so far out front, and then they get some cattle or some calves, big calves that go into the index, got some flesh on them. They're downgrading those cattle. They're not putting them in your market reporters, and so it's keeping the price way up on the ones that they leave in. And their latest CME cash feeder cattle index that comes from your federal state market reports sitting at 246.87. Talk about some big sales that are coming up. My friends down in Alabama at Elite Livestock Sales, Daryl Stokes and Jerry Etheridge there, and Chuck Bradley and the whole gang there that used to be at Montgomery Stockyards, selling those cattle on video through DVAuction, selling them in load lots. They've got 17 loads of cattle to sell on Thursday. It's going to be at 3 o'clock Central. Check them out there at Elite Livestock Sales. You can see kind of what they've got on, or you can go to DVAuction.com and check out the videos on those lots. Got bull sale season is fixing to be at full boat there. It's getting started. I was at a speaking engagement in central Nebraska on Monday night, and I talked to at least 6 or 8 seed stock producers there that were having their bull sale here right away. Almost all of them were on DVAuction. If you have a production sale and you don't have it on DVAuction, you're missing out. We do roughly 1,400 bull sales every year on site. We can do it at your place. We've got some stick out sales coming up this weekend. Beergo Angus there in Savannah, Missouri, which is close to my old stomping grounds, is having their sale on Saturday. And that's going to be at 12:30 Central. And then a producer I talked to just on Monday evening there, the Minert Simonson Sand Hills Source bull sale is going to be Saturday in Dunning, Nebraska at 1 o'clock Central. He told me to tell you guys that those cattle off the Yellow Brick Road there at Highway 20 in Nebraska, the source of those cattle, a lot of them comes from those Sand Hills Source bulls. Check those out on Saturday, guys. Let's talk about some of your big commercial feeder cattle auctions on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, 3,300 through the ring, another 500 plus through their in-house video they do with help from DVAuction. They call the feeders unevenly steady. Calves were steady to $6 higher, with the full advance on the heifer calves and the pee-wee steer calves. Good sale there in West Plains at Ozarks Regional Stockyard. Your National BeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, right there on the eastern edge of the Oklahoma Panhandle, no man's land. But they had about 3,800 feeder cattle that went through, and I told you on the last visit they are starting a 2-day sale in Beaver, Oklahoma now. The runs have gotten big, and it's just gotten tough to start that cow sale late and then run late. So they're selling cows now on Wednesday afternoon, selling the feeder cattle at Beaver on Tuesday, and then they're having big runs there, and it's taking most of the day to sell those cattle, but good for them splitting that up. But from what it looked like to me on your automated market report, your feeders were about steady. Some of your grays and yearlings and long-time weaned calves were as much as 10 or 12 bucks higher there. But you look at this automated market report and you see your best tested weights. How about 479 head of 7-weight steers? Beaver, Oklahoma, they averaged 741 at 259.04. 998 head of 8-weight steers in Beaver averaged 853, and that's on the top side of 8.5 there at 235.38. And 304 head of 9-weight steers averaged 930 at 225.10. Look at some heifers. How about 373 head of 6-weight heifers? They averaged 657 at 247.74. 451 head of 7-weight heifers, average 753 at 228.14. Give you some individual quotes from around. How about Glacial Lakes Livestock, and that's in Watertown, South Dakota. They sell 64 steers on Tuesday. Average, or they weighed 607. It was an individual quote at 317.50, weighing on top of 6 guys. How about Gordon Livestock Market in Gordon, Nebraska? Went right by there. 73 steers, weighed 696, almost 700 pounds at 282.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of my buddy Brad Hahn's sale there at Fredonia Livestock Auction in Fredonia, Kansas. He sold the Wedman Brothers cattle. They bring 700 head of weaned home-raised cattle in there, and he sells 99 head of the 505-pound steers for $363.50. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.